Hi, I'm Brittany Rizzo, and welcome to My Only Friends. On today's episode, I sit down with Joanna DeGeneres. Joanna is a respected headshot photographer in Los Angeles. She has photographed some of the most famous actors along with brave new ones. Her experience as an actor herself allows her to connect with each client on a unique level. Her photos have been featured on the Ellen DeGeneres Show, People magazine, the New York Times, Deadline Hollywood, book author covers, and many other online and printed publications. I have had the privilege of working with Joanna, and she truly captures the most authentic pictures. It's such a collaborative and supportive experience, and I can't recommend her enough if you're looking for new headshots. My conversation with Joanna reminded me of the Friends episode, the one where Rosita dies. It's truly one of my favorites. Phoebe takes on a new job selling toner over the phone. In comes one of the funniest guest stars, Jason Alexander, who is best known for his role of George Costanza on Seinfeld, which is Joanna's go-to show. Joanna was the first guest to get me to watch a full episode of Seinfeld. As a Friends fan, I felt like I was betraying them in a weird way, I'm not gonna lie. However, I truly enjoyed it, and just like with my interview with Joanna, I was smiling the entire time, and I hope you do the same. She is so down to earth and funny with a hint of Phoebe Buffay to her. Please enjoy my conversation with Joanna DeGeneres.
Okay.
You are so funny.
Hi. I'm so bad at technology. I hate it so much.
That's interesting you say you're bad at technology, but I feel like a lot of your job is technology.
And for me, it's the hard part.
I get that.
It's so easy what I do for me, except for the technology part of it.
I absolutely get that. When it's like, when I see all these people creating like reels and this and that, I'm like, I'm just now learning how to like change the exposure in a video to make it look better on my camera.
Yeah. I mean, I don't do any of that stuff. Like I have someone that helps me. I couldn't make a TikTok video if it was, my friend and I were like, if we were the last two people on Earth, there'd be no light bulbs. Cause I don't know how anything works or to do anything. I wouldn't be able to connect us back on the internet or anything. Like,
that is really funny.
I'm bad at it. Bad.
Hi. I was going to ask you, do you feel like do you like the social media aspect of it? Or are you like, do you see that it's changing your industry as well as ours so much in a negative or positive way?
I see that it's really useful and that people want to see what I look like and what my personality and how, my energy and our space and blah, blah, blah. And it's a nice way to show all that by not being boring in a way. And someone can look quickly and just get a sense of me or whatever. So I think for that stuff, it's useful. I think for like, we all kind of compare ourselves and we think, oh, what they're doing, should I be trying that? Or what's that? That's where it gets like, either it can be inspiring or it can be detrimental because it's sort of forcing you to go in a way that you think everyone else wants you to be going, as opposed to like, just doing what's sort of organic for you. When I started doing what I do as a headshot photographer, it was just organic. So for me, it just happened as it happened. And I built my business kind of organically. And then I was just busy. And then it felt like I had lost control a little with like the snowball getting bigger.
Right.
But I think that now there's this like desperate need to like compare ourselves, which wasn't the case when I was starting.
Yeah, I imagine too. I know I had listened to Mila Kunis on a podcast and I'm like, love her. And she had said too, like just as an actor, how happy she was that social media was like not a thing when she was, because again, it's a lot of the comparison. And she was like, I had the ability to just like have my eyes on my own paper and not even care about what other people were doing. I didn't know what people were doing because there was no way. Because there are times where it's super useful and you're like, oh, I would have never known this. But then there's other times I get on there and I'm like, I must be doing nothing with my life because there's so many other people out there and they're going out for this and they're doing that. And wow, what have I done today? And it's like mental gymnastics every time I get on social media.
And I feel like it's not real life at all. Like I'll have young people come in the studio and they're hardly talk. They're really like we do headshots. I try to pull my best pulling from that person. I try to like nudge and do everything I can and squeeze out of them, but I'm like, wow, they're just not really, didn't seem like they really even had fun or just kind of came in, did it and left. And then there's this social media post. I had the best time. Here's pictures of my experience. Oh my God, that was so fun. Joanna's amazing. And I'm like, oh, well, where was this fun person for your headshot? So he came in like, and then left and showed me what a great time you had. I'm like, that's when I go, oh, you're living a fake thing. Like that's how you think your personality is, that through that thing. It's filtered as opposed to being present and one-on-one. And so, that's so lovely. So it's bad for young people that have to show off or be like telling someone what they're doing all the time.
Yeah. So we'll introduce you. You are Joanna DeGeneres, and you are an incredible headshot photographer. And I want to know, well, first, with that being said, my experience has always been fun with you and the most real. And I met you, I think when I was like 19, and I just turned 32 last weekend. And
that's great. Like, that's crazy for me. Like, there are kids I've shot at 7, a 7 and 9-year-old girl that I adore. And now she's 22. I'm like, oh my God, that's when I see the amount of time I've been doing this. Because most people come in, they look a little older. They've lost a few pounds, gained a few pounds, shaved a beard, cut their hair, grown their hair. But when you see a kid go from like a child to fully like independent adult, that's when I go, oh my God, time has passed.
Right. And the last time I shot with you, I got emotional because I felt like I finally saw myself again. And I saw who I felt on the inside. And the time prior to that, I had shot with you a year apart. So I shot with you last March and then the March before. And the March before, I remember feeling that way too, but still like you capture people's essence. You capture what people are truly feeling. And
I love that. Thank you.
Yes, of course. And I had been on this horrible health journey of gaining so much weight in such a short amount of time. And then I lost all this weight in a short amount of time. And I started in all of that. I learned who I was because I had to go, my appearance is the least interesting thing about me. Who am I on the inside? And this last time that I shot with you, it felt like those aligned for me. Who I was on the inside and who I was on the outside.
We're showing up.
We're showing up, and they were finally aligned with who I am in this very moment. And I remember looking at you and being like, I'm an adult. Like, I looked at the pictures. I was like, I've never actually, I'm like, whoa, like that is me. And that is who I am. And I was just elated to see it. And you captured it so well. And also it was the easiest shoot I have ever done because you and Kate, who I absolutely adore, the makeup artist and hair.
We're a team. Like we just work really well together.
So well together. And you guys are like, look, I have been photographed by men and I'm sure they work well for some other people, but women who know women know how to photograph women, and women who love and support women are also the best people to go to, because I felt so safe and held, and these people aren't judging me. These people want what's best for me, and they're here to have fun too. Like, this is all of us in our elements of an actor, a photographer, a hair and makeup design. Like, we're all in our elements, putting our best foot forward, trying to make the best thing possible. And it's very collaborative. And so I just love the space you create so much.
Thanks. I think that for me, because I started as an actor, getting a lot of headshots, and I always found it trying to be an actor, having headshots taken didn't really work for me. I was a better subject when I was just present in the space and kind of able to respond and be natural, be myself, right? So I feel like for me, when people come in my space, I very rarely, I do it sometimes, but because it just some people need that, but I cater a little to people's and each person's sort of individual sort of need as a human being first. And I don't notice that, like, I wouldn't notice somebody lost pounds or gained pounds. Like, that doesn't really, if I see someone over time, that doesn't really, I'll notice haircut or like maybe like stuff like that. But I generally don't notice things like that because I don't know. I don't take that. But I found that if I can just like get someone to just talk to me and look into my lens while we have that conversation and just really actually listen to me, then that is the best sort of outcome. And the best sessions are fast and easy. And the longer it takes and the more struggling everyone's doing, because it feels difficult doesn't mean it's good. It's like writing a song maybe, or like writing a script or a show, or just something that just comes out really quickly. And it's the best thing. You painted a thing in like an hour and it was, great. It's like, so when all the preparation is done and someone can just come in and have a good time and listen and be present, they're going to get everything they need from their photo.
Right.
And that's the part that I can't teach or can't like repeat sometimes. So every time the next person comes in, it's a new experience, but I just have to be open to whatever that person brings and then just kind of, help them kind of like shed some preconceived things about their face or whatever and just do the process that way. So the technical part is sort of the part I hate. And then the meeting new people, having a new experience every couple hours is the part I love.
Yeah.
I don't really remember. I don't look at the schedule. I'll check sometimes and see who's coming in the next day and maybe go, if I saw that person before, oh yeah, who were they? And look at the photos we did and stuff. But I try to just be open to a new experience all the time so that then I'm able to just kind of, have fun and enjoy that person too. And the more we do that together, then the photo works.
Right. Absolutely. And so so you were an actor. Well, I would say you still are an actor because I'm not an actor in the way that I'm not auditioning for things. I'm not pursuing work as an actor. Once an actor, always an actor. Yeah. I mean, I look, someone might come in my studio and I'm like, oh my God, like that person, everyone you meet in your life every day is not going to be compatible with you. It's not going to be someone that you can like jive with or want to be friends with forever. But I can always spend a couple hours with even the sort of most different or strange or whatever person from me and bring whatever I feel like out of that person and kind of get them a little bit and then hopefully get that in a photo. So I started because you were going to ask me what made me. Yeah. What was the moment where you knew, like, did you just like take a random headshot of somebody and you're like, hey, I'm good at this? Or were you studying people along the way? Like, what was the moment where you were like, I could really make a career out of being a headshot photographer?
I was standing in the kitchen holding my camera and my husband had a band. He always has bands and does music. Music is sort of his passion and fun for him. And he wanted to make a CD. It was 20 years ago. So he was making CDs with a cover and he wanted to have it where you could open the little booklet and see pictures. And he goes, could you do just photos of each of the band members for the inside? And then maybe he had an idea for the cover to do a thing. And I was like, oh yeah, that'd be kind of fun. So I was like, well, I need a better camera if I'm going to do that. And I think I got it's like, that'd be fun. I kind of want a camera anyway. I don't know. So I got like the digital. It was first digital color stuff was just starting to happen. I got a Canon Rebel, whatever. And I did it. I did each of the band members' headshots for the inside of this cover. And we did the cover photo of the girl and we silhouetted her. And that was fun. I had to figure out how to make that on my computer. And I'm holding the camera and I was like, oh my God, I could be a headshot photographer.
Yeah.
And I would get headshots all the time because I was that actor trying to figure out what I wanted my thing to look like. So I had done a lot. I shot with everyone in LA that I really liked. And I knew what I liked. And I was working in a casting office looking at headshots. And I was like, I could, and my husband immediately, who was my boyfriend at the time, was like, oh no, don't really, like, that's what you want to do? Hey, like, is there going to be like actors in our house every day? Like,
That's what he was worried about.
Yeah, like just strangers in our house. And what does that mean for his life? Because he's, man. I was like, no, of course not. And then cut to like, him coming home from work and this guy's like changing clothes, his shirt off. And it's like, sorry, I know. And now he's super proud of me and tells everyone. Yeah. Great photographer. But it was definitely like a light bulby, like bing above my head. Like I even had like, oh my God, I could try this. And then my first session, I had the camera on a tripod and I reached over to like fix a girl. Like, I think I was like fixing a hair and the whole camera just tumbled to the ground. And I watched the lens just kind of split into.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, I had two lenses, like the one that came with camera and then this one that was going to be a better like portrait lens, whatever, but it was still cheap-ish. And I was like, oh, this is a sign that I absolutely should not be doing this.
Yeah.
But I took it off. I was like, fuck. I put on the other older, I kind of finished the session and then I kept trying. I don't know why. But I remember that moment really clear. I remember everything falling over. I remember thinking how clumsy I am, and I'm clumsy all the time, and I'm clumsy anyway. And then just kind of keep going. I don't know what made me keep going.
Isn't it fun to see how far you've come though, when you tell those stories? And I think it's also so good for other people to hear, because we all have those stories. Like when we first started something out, how the mistakes we made or how we were just like, oh, there's no fucking way this is going to last. And like you said, like when I first started this podcast, nothing was going right. My first recording, I was like, this is a sign that I shouldn't be doing this. Like, why did I think I would be the one who would be able to learn audio software engineering? Like, I've never done it before. And now here I am. I think you're like my 20th person. And it's just, it's so interesting. And even like, I do spray tans on the side. And every single time, I was going to ask you if you feel this way, every single time I do a spray tan, even though I know I'm so good at it, or every single time I do a podcast interview, I get so nervous and I'm like, this is going to be the time I fuck it up and I'm never going to be able to do it again. Do you ever have those moments before a shoot, you're like, oh God, do I still know what I'm doing? Even though you do, obviously.
Not anymore. The only time that kind of happens is like when it got to be winter this year and it was going to be pouring rain. And I was like, okay, I got to figure out, because I really do like to have my door open and I and I like the natural light and all that. And I was like, there's no excuse. I moved to a studio so that I would be able to keep shooting, even no matter the weather, whatever, or I could have, bigger space where I could work no matter what. So I was like, just shut the door and figure it out. And then I was like, oh yeah, it's great. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
It looks the same. No one can tell.
Right.
And now I'm like, I don't want to open the door because it's like the natural light is so much harder. So I learned a really difficult way that then allowed me to figure that out. I think it's easier to learn that way than to go the other way, than to be a studio photographer to then suddenly have to be outside somewhere. You're like, the light's everywhere. I don't know. How do I control it? Or where is it? So I think I force myself to adapt in that way. So yeah, I don't anymore. I don't anymore go, oh my God, I'm nervous. I can't do this. Sometimes at the end of a day, like I'll go home and be like, oh shoot, I'll think about, I could have done something a little better that day with someone, or what did I say? It felt like something happened weird. Like what happened, and that kind of thing. But yeah, they didn't notice, or, it's a very tiny thing for me, or I want to be careful about this or that, or,
So did you always love photography, or did you just were you like, okay, I'm going to take some classes and figure this out? Or did you just learn by doing?
No, but always was art. I was a painter, drawer. I went to Michigan State for my undergrad, and I was a painter, drawer, art major, and I did art history on the side. And then I was at the theater every night doing theater. Like where I really wanted to be was in the theater. But I knew that I wasn't sort of supported to be an actor. And the whole idea with me going to college was to get a real job, which a lot of people are told that you get a real job and then you do acting on the side or whatever. And that was sort of something my stepfather kind of told me, like, yeah, but you need to have a great fallback thing. So you can fall back. And I think David Mamet said, if you have something to fall back on it, you'll fall back on it.
Yep.
So you're either all in or you're not. And then So I was always like color and like composition is easy for me. Kind of, I like faces. I can look at something and kind of figure something out. Light and direction and perspective and all of those things I kind of understand and can do. And so that was easy. And then the like hanging with people and just kind of learning about people and spending time. That is the fun part for me. Just the technical part was the part that was the thing I had to like, and there's still things technically that I want to be able to do that I'm like slowly kind of learning slowly to figure out how to do.
Right.
But no, it's so funny that, so the Michigan State, the guy that teaches photography there, like the head of he's a big deal, whatever. He sent me an email saying, because he knows I went there, I guess. And he sent me this really nice email that was like, I don't know if you ever took my class, but I show my students when we talk about photography and a business and things you can do with it. You're my go-to like example for I know, so kind for that. And if you'd ever like to be a visiting artist and talk to the students here and we could get the theater kids too. You could talk about the business and headshots and blah, blah, blah.
That would be so helpful.
I'm so kind. I was like,
that's amazing.
Oh my God. It's like it's like when you don't get a degree in something and then you get invited back to talk about that thing. And I said, I never took your class because it was just expensive. Photography is the most expensive art class to pick. So I didn't do it because it was like, I remember it was like, you have to buy all the solutions and the developing stuff and the camera, like I didn't have anything. So it was going to be, I was like, I don't want to spend that much on a class just to do one skill. So I took a lot of collage, assemblage, like painting, drawing, all of that stuff. So, but he opened a communication with me to like have me come there and chat with them. And I'm like, I feel a little like I'd be a fraud. But maybe that part of it also has something of value to share. So I think that would be a cool thing to do.
It's kind of like when you see the people from American Idol like come back on and they have like a hit single, but they never even made it to the top 10. And they're like these huge stars now. And then they come back to be like a mentor and they're like, haha.
Like, yeah. I made it and I didn't learn on my own. There's like this up by myself.
Yeah. It's like something to be super proud of.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Speaking of being proud of, I wrote down this question because I'm like, is there one particular photo that you're super, super proud of? Like every artist has that one song that they made that they're really proud of, or movie or play that they've done they're really proud of. So is there one specific photograph you took where you were just like, oh, wow, this like really captures everything that I love?
Probably, I would say, it's so funny. I have a print here in my office. I don't know. It's also at the studio, but it's this. Can you see?
The one above yeah, that's beautiful.
And I think I've tried over the years to see if I could have like a show where it's like, it's not headshots, but it's just some like a the artistic side of photography, right? Where it would be, but I'll take hundreds and hundreds with like for that series, I took so many photos and I liked one.
Yeah.
Any other. So I only have one thing in that series that I'm like, I would feel like I would want in a show. And I have these birds on this thing.
I love birds.
And that was just like, it happened like, and so things like that, I think where I've had like a little moment of, and sometimes I'll see something and I know it's a photo that I want to take. I just didn't capture it. It didn't happen in the way that but yeah, I mean, I think I'm proud of that and those. And as far as like headshots and actors go, there's definitely ones where I'm like, I love, and sometimes I forget, and that's why I love the social media too, because it'll remind me of things I've done and put up there. I'm like, oh yeah, I took that. That was a great shot. Like, oh yeah, that person looks amazing. Like that's
right.
Really cool. I love that, So, I mean, and then there's ones where it shows up and I'm like, oh my God, that was actually not a really great. I didn't do that a great job.
Yeah. I would imagine that, because look, we live in a world where we could always grab our phones and take a picture. But when you're a professional photographer, I'd imagine daily I would have the problem of being like, oh wait, that's a good one. That's a good one. That's a good one. Like, do you have that like instinct to be like, no, today I'm putting my phone down. I'm putting my camera down and I'm just going to take it in through my eyeballs instead?
So my memory is shitty. Like I have a bad memory. I can't remember things. So I actually use my phone camera as kind of like, rather than, oh, that's a picture I like, of like, I want to remember this in my time. Like I want to be reminded of this thing. I honestly think that's why people take photos of their food, because it's an experience, right? That you had when you tasted it. And I'm very food. I like food. I like that experience too. Like I love candies. So I might like, I'll remember the whole meal, where we sat, what we ate, everything, how it tasted, who we were with, but I couldn't tell you when we were there. If it was 6 months, 3 months, 8 weeks, 2 years, I have no idea. So my memory's really bad that way. So I like the phone for that. Like, oh yeah, we remember this time with this. I don't think of it. I don't usually use it as like, oh, that's a pretty whatever. Yeah. The only time that I will use it for that is as an architectural situation. If I see something like that, I have some really cool, like architecturally, like interesting photos that I took with my phone. And that's the only time where I see a picture and I take it maybe. But no, like my camera stays at work. Like I come home on the weekends or we go on vacation. I don't bring unless I'm being asked to like document, like I went to Africa and I took my camera to Africa because I was like, okay, I'm going to be mad that I don't have it here with me, because this is a very unique experience and I want to capture, and maybe I want to print something really cool and big. And I don't know what I'm going to take a picture of, but I feel like I'm an idiot if I don't bring my nice camera to Africa.
That was with the gorillas, right?
Yeah.
Oh, those pictures were incredible. Incredible.
And I remember the whole experience more because I documented it with the camera.
Right.
But I generally don't like, I don't really do that. Like I'm not like taking pictures all the time. I don't have like I'm not trying to have photography everywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, my photography, like my phone is literally just pictures of my dogs. Like it's literally, I have like 10,000 photos every day. I'm like trying to clear more storage because it's literally just my dog sleeping. And I'm like, but look how cute she looks.
And like, I think we take those because we've experienced losing a pet.
Yes.
Right. And when you have that, you're so grateful to it because you know that you're going to want to look back and you're not going to have that animal. Like I'm way more aware of like that it's fleeting because of her life, because I've gone through the loss. I'm pointing there because she's normally laying there. Than I am of like my husband, you know,
right.
or like my family. And I'm like, and then I'd be like, oh, I didn't really take that many pictures of them when they were here. But my dog, I know that might happen in my lifetime, but so might all the other stuff. But for some reason, you know.
No, I get it. Like my first dog, Lucy, I don't have any videos of her.
Right.
Like, because it was before, you know, cell phones and like good quality videos. And, you know, we had a digital camera, but, you know, we didn't think that wasn't how it was, or you were taking videos of everything every single second. And so, yeah, I look back and I have like the same 5 photos of my dog, Lucy, who was my baby. I had her from 3 to 17. Yeah. And now I've had these dogs from 18 to 32. And I'm like, I never want to forget their bark. I don't want to forget what it sounded like when Lila howled. Like, I love them so much. But yeah, I mean, I'll start crying just thinking about them.
I know. So like, I will see someone lost a pet on, like, they'll post about it, and I resonate with that, because I don't have kids either, and not, you know, I have nieces and nephews, and that's great. So she is my, you know, I love her so much, like a kid. It's same. I'm like, and I know that I don't want children, and I love my nephew to death. But with my dogs, I'm like, I swear I call them my ET babies. Like, whatever they feel, I feel like, I just know it. Well, we project all of our things like onto them, even though they're probably just like napping. We're like, oh, she's not bummed out today because of the rain. It's like, no, she's just sleeping. And I feel like I try to remind myself that she's living in the moment.
Yeah.
Like all the time. They can get traumatized and that can stimulate like reactions to things. But for the most part, every walk is a brand new walk, and she'll smell the same exact spots, you know, but that's in that moment. And I envy that.
Yeah, it's definitely like, I saw a meme. It's like this guy sitting on a park bench, and he has all these thought bubbles, and he's thinking about all these other things. And then the dog is next to him, and he has one thought bubble, and it's just the park bench and the park and his owner. And it's like, we can all just aspire to be just like that, to just be present and in the moment and
let shit go. Like, right. Like,
So getting back to headshots before we get on to the TV portion of this, which is a really big deal today, actually, but we'll get to that.
Great.
What would you say is the biggest mistake that actors make with headshots? And what's your best piece of advice for actors who dread getting new shots?
I think the biggest mistake actors make is that they try to recreate something that they've either seen of themselves before that they like sort of a picture where there was a certain something with their face that they really like. They're trying to like recapture something. It's sort of like when you do theater, and if you've done a lot of theater, when you're an actor and you do sort of multiple shows, so then you're doing this, you're repeating the same things over and over again. And if you just play the feeling of the memory of what you're doing, then it's not gonna ring true or be successful. But if you keep going for that thing that you're trying to achieve in front of you, like you're present, so you remember what you want from the other person, what you want them to think, feel, do, right? You're doing the action of the thing, then you're gonna do it successfully every time. You're trying to achieve the same thing, not trying to repeat like, oh, it was funny when I did that little so I'm going to do that again. But it's like, do the go after the thing and then let the others, you know, and then you'll. So I think actors sometimes will have a preconceived idea of what they think their headshot needs to look like, and they. So inevitably, they're trying to like recreate or do something that that they've done, rather than just being present. And the best example of that, and why it pisses older people off, is how great kids are, and animals like dogs too, right? Yeah. Present in the moment of the thing. So if you just come in trust that you've done all the pre-work stuff. You do have to think about what you want to achieve while you're putting your clothes and your wardrobe and your ideas together, right? And know who you are a little bit. It doesn't matter who you are, but who you are in the world of being an actor, which is used to be very narrow and now has become much wider. There's much more. There's many more things. You can be an actor and be many more things than when I started trying to be an actor. And there was trends and, you kind of fitting in boxes and archetypes. And now there's less of that. There's still archetypes and things, but you are more limited by maybe your age range and right than your sex. So like if you're 15, then you're not going to play an old grandma on television. So don't dress like an old like there's no use in that. But could you be a little kid who's a little bit like old fashioned in their style and blah blah, and then it can fit in yes, all these other things, right? But it's still a kid, and you want to be that. Your age range really kind of pushes you into, I think, the most amount of limitations. Yeah, everything else is kind of wide open. Right. More.
Right. It's interesting. There's a quote that I love that I was thinking about while you were talking. It's by Eckhart Tolle. I never know how to say his last name, Tolle. But he says, like, when you realize that no moment can happen twice, that's when, like, you realize how meaningful every moment is, because it's never going to happen again. So like you said, when people are trying to recreate that magic, you're also taking away the meaning. Yeah. Like, and how important and impactful that moment actually is.
Right. And that's what I'm so like if I start a subject and like, don't come back to it, remind me, because
you're fine.
Tangents. But so I think what my point was is like, when I shoot little kids, which I don't really do very often, I'm not open on weekends, so it makes it harder to get kids to be right. But I'm okay with that. But when I have, like, I just had a little 5-year-old, and for the most part, it's true with most kids that when they're getting their headshots taken, they will just have fun and they don't even look at the pictures. Like they don't even care what happened. There's no next result. They're not result oriented. They're just present and like listening, and will say whatever I say, most of them. And that's the best. And if everyone could just learn to just kind of trust that we've put together, the look is there, and what you're thinking, and everyone else will, when they see your photo, they'll see an engaged, interesting person who's present, and that's the best headshot. Like, people be like, oh, it's quirky and comedy. I'm like, yeah, well, let's do that with maybe the idea of what the clothing is, but then your face can be like completely devastated or very happy, and it would maybe be funny and do different ways, even though that's not what you were thinking about. You were actually like, we were talking about lunch, and like, oh my God, I hate eggs. And that was the photo, and it looks like they're like, fuck yeah, whatever.
Right. Just a real honest reaction.
Yeah. And like, the other people are going to layer what is happening in your picture. So having lots of variety, rather than I get people that just freeze, smile, like they're trying to smile, and like, I need to show my teeth, and I've been told I don't smile enough. It's like, okay, well, let that go, and then just be present. And chances are I'm going to say something stupid, or you're going to laugh we're going to have fun, and that's going to happen naturally. And if you if you're open to the process, then the process is going to be really successful.
Yeah. It's a lot about being like not attached to outcome, and just being fluid in how things are going to work out, and not having this expectation of how it's going to go, and just being, for sure. It's
really hard. Like, it sounds so like, oh, that should be so easy, but it's hard to let go of our preconceived ideas of how we think we need to look, or what needs to be going on, or, and then layered onto that, I don't like that angle of my face, or, I hate my nose, so I like it better if my chin's a little, that stuff. Like, is on top of like, I'm looking into a camera, which as an actor, unless it's some docu-seriesy thing, you generally aren't looking into the camera, right? So you're adding things that aren't natural, trying to be present and natural, and you can't move very much, and there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
So just breathe, just be open, have fun, chill out, and it's usually great.
Yeah. And what's so interesting is that the last photos I did with you in March, I typically always hate the ones of me smiling because people used to tell me I had bunny teeth. I mean, up until like, I would be at a bar and this guy would come up to me and be like, you have the prettiest rabbit teeth I've ever seen. And so I was always a dentist told me, oh, when you make a little bit of money, we should put some veneers there. Like I've had people talk about my teeth. I love my teeth. And so now I do. It took me a while to get there.
I didn't even notice your teeth. Like I would notice stuff like that.
Exactly. Nobody really would except me at this point. But my favorite pictures from this last session are all the ones of me smiling because I'm like, I look so happy and I felt so happy. And I was like, I haven't seen myself like that in a very long time. So those are my favorite ones this time around. And everybody's like, my grandma, she was like, I better get a picture of you smiling. And I was like, Grandma, happy birthday. Here they are. Here's a picture of me actually smiling.
I love that.
When you can see someone is in their head during a shoot or like not feeling great, what's a little trick you have to help them snap out of it? If you can.
Yeah. I mean, if I see them, I'm just talking. Mm-hmm. It's like, just talk to me. Like, I have tricks, physical things I can do sometimes that I used to do more. And the other day I was like, I haven't done that in a while. But getting someone off balance a little sometimes works, like forcing them into some kind of weird, like off balance situation would work. Or, but generally just like talking through the photos and not, and sometimes also just like, I almost trick people. Like sometimes at the end of the thing, they're like, well, did I get all the things? Like, did I do it? Like I didn't realize, and I don't know if I did all the things I was trying to do. And I'm like, right. Because you weren't thinking about yourself. You were actually focused on being present. So you didn't even realize, don't even remember what we talked about or what we,
right.
And I try not to get deep. Like I really try not to get deep in the session. Like I try to not make it therapy.
Right.
I try to not talk about like the horrible things happen. I mean, it comes up like the stuff that's going on sometimes in politics of the world, whatever, but I don't want to have and I don't want that person's opinion of something to cause us. Right. I mean, I don't agree with them. So I'm suddenly going to be like, oh, I just think you're an idiot. You know what I mean? I don't want to, I just want to like them. So I try to keep it all very like fun, just general, like, where do you, like, it's really basic, like getting to know someone without like, I don't need like intimate details about their feelings about the world and climate change and we don't need to go there because we have to cycle through a lot of emotions and feelings in a short amount of time, and that can really bog down.
That makes so much sense. Yeah.
Only times it's happened is that when something very specific just happened in politics and we're like in the studio the next day and then we're buzzing and chatting about it, and then I'll try to like completely change the subject to not sit and dwell because
energy it's
not helpful. Rather and I like someone talking about themselves while talking to me, because they're not thinking about what they look like. They're engaging about their who they are, like, and what they you can learn a lot from what someone watches on television, right? Like I ask that question every day 3 times. What do you watch on TV? Because that's so interesting.
Yeah. What's funny is that you got me into a show when I was 19, and I had you were probably one of my my second headshot sessions I'd ever had. And you were like, what do you do for work? And I was like, oh, I do like sugaring, like waxing. And you're like, oh, like Marcy from Californication. And I don't
even remember that.
You told it, you're like, oh yeah, you got to watch it. And I watched Californication like 3 times all the way through. It became one of the shows that I was obsessed with. And David Duchovny is so hot in that show. And I absolutely, just like every time I think about Californication, I think of you because you're the one who got me into it. And so it brings us to the TV shows that you watch.
Yes.
Then Seinfeld and The Office, which are 2 shows I had never seen before until last.
So can I just say, like, when you were like, send me a couple episodes, I felt a great responsibility not to necessarily, I wrote this in my email to you, but not to necessarily just send you the ones that I just thought were like my favorites, but to send you ones that would be like, that would prove to you why these are kind of really clever shows that do something different, that I had to prove myself. Like I had to sell you on the show rather than just share a show with you. So it felt like a deep responsibility. And I don't know that I made the right choice.
No. Okay. When you emailed me that, I was like, I get it, because when people tell me that they haven't watched Friends or they never got into it, I make a curated list for that. I will go through every single season, every single episode, and go, which one is right for this person? Like, I literally understood you so much when you said that, because I feel the same way. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I need you to know. Like, I could do a whole PowerPoint on why you would like Friends and why you could find an episode that is perfect for you.
Well, I loved Schitt's Creek. I was way first. Like I was watching it when nobody yet was talking about it. And I was freaking out about it. Like I was like, this is special.
Yeah.
And then I brought my husband, like, you have to watch this. And he couldn't. He
didn't get it.
No. But he kept coming in and out. And I was like, you can't do that. The show is a slow burn in a way. Like something happens really special, but you have to stick with it because you have to learn. You have to see the way they tell this story. It's so smart.
Right.
And that sometimes is hard. So then, people are like, oh, I can't watch a show where I have to watch 4 episodes before I care,
Right.
But I can do that. Like I'll stay with it if I know that it's doing something clever, unique, interesting. Like I want to relate to. I felt the way about Severance, sort of. If people started it and just were like, what is this? I'm like, just watch it because it's just really, it's really like good.
Right.
And you can't, sometimes it's like by the 4th, people are like already checked out and they're not, But
right.
I love TV, so I'm going to watch.
Same.
Watch it.
Same. And you'll be happy to know that your choices for these shows, guess what I started from the beginning last night?
The Office.
Seinfeld.
Oh, you did? Oh, that's funny.
See, look, I think I always had an aversion to Seinfeld because there was such a rivalry with fans online about what's better, Seinfeld or Friends. And it's kind of like, it's the Beatles or the Rolling Stones question. And it's like, Seinfeld, are you a Seinfeld person or are you a Friends person? And look, we all love these shows because they're so special to us for certain reasons. And so I always thought like fans of Seinfeld always just had to make it known that like, oh, it's so much better than Friends, where I'm like, I don't think either one of them, like they've been on each other's shows before, like Jason Alexander did an episode of Friends, which is one of the funniest episodes where he's like the guy who has to sell toner, or Phoebe's selling him toner. And he's like, well, I don't need toner because I'm going to kill myself today. And she like spends the whole episode trying to save his life, and she does. And it's so funny and amazing. But I think that's why I always had an aversion to it. Cause I'm like, you know what? I am sticking to my Friends in solidarity, but I was watching it. The whole time I was watching it, I had a smile on my face. Like, it's just you're like, oh, I know this person. And Elaine. But
also like, it's like there's something, what did I write? Like, it's the most mundane minutia. Like they're focused on the dumbest things. Like it's so stupid. Like, but we do that every day. And
Absolutely.
there's no shows anymore about like how we delve into like the most idiotic thing or break up with someone because their laugh is weird or like, and there's also things on both of those shows. They're kind of terrible people in a way.
Oh yeah. You're like, all of these people are so dressed like, come on, you guys, but it's funny.
Kind of horrible, but we are horrible sometimes. Like, and it's like hearing someone else say that thing that, or do that thing where it's like, oh my God, I've totally judged. I've done that. Like, and the episodes where it's like the woman has man hands, you know, we call them. And it's just, and then they have the close up of it. She touches his face and it's clearly a man's. Yeah. When you see just the hand, you know, and it's this pretty woman, but she has man, like the stupid. It's so stupid. And then to focus and to make that like a problem when you're just a flawed person, like we're all just these really deeply flawed people. And it is fun to see other people just deal with the dumbest thing. And it's it is a show about nothing because but that's what our lives are filled with.
It's so true. And like, even just Elaine getting so mad she lost her sub punch card. I am like that too. I don't know if it's some form of mental illness or I get so fixated on something where I cannot think about anything else until that small, stupid thing is taken care of. And but so
I love that someone wrote that. Like, they're like this thing, like they're thinking about it and they think that other people are going to go, yeah, I also, and you know, and it's also completely inappropriate. Like both those shows, The Office and Seinfeld, I don't think you could make it today because they're inappropriate and people don't understand today that I think this is probably controversial, but that they're showing a bad person doing something stupid isn't saying that that's acceptable behavior. It's actually pointing out how terrible that behavior is. Right. And then you're laughing at it. So it makes it more human. And then we can understand. And that's how the world gets solved, right? When we understand each other, you meet someone different from you. And you have a connection of something that you both believe is ridiculous. And then you chip away at the things that make us different and by making fun of them. And it's very wrong now. Like no one can say anything that might hurt someone's feelings. Whereas, yes, you should be able to show that because then it shows that it's bad and dumb. And that's the point. We're laughing because it's stupid. And if you see how bad, stupid that behavior is and how small-minded you were, and here's these dumb characters showing us that, and that's valuable. And you take all of that away and water everything down and it becomes like, you know, not interesting. I definitely too. I just, the writing of those sitcoms too, just in that time period, it's so quick and everything is coming back everything's a callback. And it's like, I didn't realize that Seinfeld did flashbacks, like in the library book episode, they keep flashing back to when they were in high school and like their different perspectives. And I was like, wow, this is like, I didn't realize they did that. And I think too, it was like, I think the show came on when I was little and I would see the stand-up parts of it and then it would turn into a show. I think I just didn't get it when I was a kid. You know, I was just like, what's happening? In the first, I think they totally took the stand-up part out of it. Like they only did that in the first season and then dropped it because it doesn't really work. Yeah, it always confused me. Yeah, and I think it's a show that it was one of those shows that they let it kind of figure itself out. They gave it time to do that. There's a lot of shows that kind of fail in the beginning and then they're kind of axed, like they don't get picked up or they don't show anymore. Whereas it's like, there was something there. Like if you just give them a chance to figure it out, when they get on their rhythm, it gets really good. And then of course you have the terrible episodes that are just like least favorite or clips or like, I don't like that. Like that's dumb or because it's not I just didn't like, there's definitely episodes where I'm like, I don't need to see that one, you know, whatever. But like, so I sent you the book, the library one. Mainly my thing with that episode, and my husband and I have talked about it too, is the guy that plays the library bookman,
the detective. Yeah.
That is so brilliant.
Yeah. So
like
good.
That's actually maybe one of the best like acting scene things that is on a sitcom, is that moment of him like dressing down and talking to Jerry. And it's that, again, it's just the minutia of like not returning the book. And what's that he has this whole speech about that. And it's just done so well. Yeah. It's so good. Apparently it was very hard for Jerry to keep a straight face, you know? Yeah. But,
no, I thought those were great picks. And again, it's made me, like you said, you like watching those shows, and we don't have a lot of shows like that on television right now. I mean, I always refer back to Pivot on Friends, where it's literally just them moving a couch. There's 3 lines in the whole scene: pivot, pivot, pivot. And it is one of the funniest scenes ever. And like, there are no, or even Schitt's Creek, when fold in the cheese. Yes. What do you mean fold in the cheese? Yeah. And it's like, it's very hard to find those shows where it's the smallest, dumbest thing, but we've all had that experience. We've all been like made this tiny, tiny problem into like our entire day's worth. And
and that's probably every episode of Seinfeld is that tiny problem. Like there's a whole episode of them trying to wait for a table at a Chinese restaurant. Like the whole episode, I think, takes place in this Chinese restaurant. They're just trying to get sat.
So funny.
So stupid. And it's like, it's like somebody was just like so annoyed about their waiting for something that they decided to make an entire television about it. And it's just relatable. It's just like, take a tiny experience and make it really ridiculous and make it so all consuming that, you know, everyone's had that experience.
Would you say you reference Seinfeld the most in your daily life?
Probably. Yeah. Like Kate, my makeup artist, was telling me, because when you said, I thought about this, she was telling me about a photographer, a headshot photographer that she works with sometimes that I guess is she was telling this girl like how he's so great to shoot with, but you have to do everything his exact way or he'll shut down. You just go along with him and you'll get a great result. But if you at any point in the process, like I go, well, can we try? He will just literally like, that will almost be the end of your session. And so I was telling her about the soup Nazi on Seinfeld, where they have to stand, it's the soup. Everyone wants the soup. It's so delicious. It's the most delicious soup. So this place has lines out the door, people waiting for soup, but the guy that runs it, and he's called they call him the soup Nazi. And I think that's the name of the episode, which you could never have, right? Nah. But you have to walk up a certain way. You have to ask for the soup a certain way. Put the money on the counter. He takes it. He pours your soup. Then you do the thing, and then they come in, and all of them Elaine's like trying to be smarty pants, you know, and takes it on like, oh, I'm gonna be a jerk and I'm gonna make it harder for you to be your soup Nazi self, kind of thing. But he has to be a certain way. And so I referenced that when I was thinking of this photographer, which isn't really the same thing at all, but kind of. Yeah. That. And then I'm showing her the scene and I'm like, you don't get it because you don't know the show and you can't understand. And she was kind of like smiling and nodding like, okay, I'm trying to, but I could tell it wasn't resonating as like the same thing. And then maybe I had said something mean in reverse now about this photographer, but so I was like, oh, dug a hole with this sitcom. But I think Seinfeld, yes. Like I had you watch the Christmas one, the Festivus
one. Yeah.
And like, I think what I like the most about that show are the other characters that come in and out, even more than I like Elaine and Jerry and Kramer and George and stuff, but it's the other people that kind of come in and out that I'm always, that and Festivus, just George's dad. That
he's great.
Jerry Stiller.
Jerry Stiller. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah. It's so funny because I mean, I could relate every single thing back to a Friends episode, and I feel the exact same way when people don't get it and they're like, oh, I'm like, we could never be friends. Like, we could never actually be friends. Like,
you don't understand
you just really would never get me. But like, even when like I'll be at work and we're almost done, I'm always like, I want to go in my head, because that's what Joey says on Thanksgiving Day. He's like, I want to go, because he wants to go across the hall to hang out with all the hot models and not be at Thanksgiving. And it's like just those little things. And I could hear their voices in my head. I could imagine everything happening. And I'm always like, there's got to be other people who do this too. Come to find there's not a whole lot that I know in my everyday life that can do it with Friends, but to know that you do that with Seinfeld, where you can relate it to instances is.
But I bet you there are, because there's no way that show would have had the success it had.
Oh, for sure.
Without like people relating in that way, or feeling like they were seeing their friends or their group, people they knew in their lives sort of mirrored for them, or like dumb situations like mirrored that they'd felt that way or been through or whatever. And there is something comforting of knowing that other people have minutia that is filling their day, and they also feel ridiculous and, have said stupid things, have left a dumb voice message on, like there's a Seinfeld where he leaves like a voicemail and then keeps calling back to like, fix it, but then just keeps talking more and more, and like it gets worse and worse. And and then they take the situation to the next level and then you're like, okay, this is so dumb, but now it's a sitcom. Like, But yeah, I think we all watch things that resonate, or we watch stuff and then find things that resonate, or see an experience that maybe is so different from our own. And that's really interesting, because that resonates in a different way. Like,
right.
That feeling of that fear or that thing,
Now, was there a specific character, I mean, from Seinfeld, any show, where you saw yourself in them, where you were like, oh, that is me? Like, I relate to this person so much.
Let me think. Probably more The Office, maybe. Like, but I don't know. Like, I've always sort of felt like I'm someone who I adapt in a situation. So if I'm in a party, I don't know that I'm the person that gets noticed, but I can melt in and just be part of. I think that's what I do in my work every day too. Is like, I think I can just kind of absorb the situation and whoever's there or whatever the situation is, I can match that with my energy, with my presence. So I'm always I feel always a little bit outside, but someone that can kind of relate and join a party. I can melt into a group and they'd be like, oh yeah, we met that. Yeah, but I don't think they remember me. I'm not going to make a big scene or whatever. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if there's, I don't know, actually. Probably.
Yeah.
I have to really think about that. If there's like a specific character.
Yeah. Well, even like as an actor, like when you were growing up, who was the person that you were looking up to that made you go, oh, I want to be an actor?
I was always like, I love musical theater. I never wanted to be a musical theater performer, but that was very inspiring to me. Just like, but I would say I was always a Meryl Streep or, someone that she does that too. Like she's very charactery. Like she can take on something and almost be a different person. Right. And I liked that.
Did you flip out when you met her for the first time?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. I made such an ass of myself.
No, I bet you didn't. You were just probably like having an out of body experience.
I was so dumb. Like all I cared about was getting a picture, I felt like, with her, because I had to prove it to myself that I had met her, and I had to prove like it was, and I still look at that picture. I'm like, I'm a Meryl Streep. Like it still makes me feel like that. But does she remember that moment? Absolutely not. Did I say anything that was like, oh, I like that girl? No. Like she made an impact on me in my life. And then I got to sort of say that my face was next to her face, but I didn't get to like, I didn't do the right thing. Like I'd rather have a moment or gauge or like something memorable happen. Like Paul McCartney does that apparently. Like he doesn't take pictures with people, and he says, well, I won't take a picture, but I'm happy to stand here and talk to you for a few minutes.
You know what?
That's way better.
I am like crawling out of my seat because I'm like, I'm not happy that you feel that way, but I'm happy that I'm not alone, because I did the same thing with Jennifer Aniston. When I met her, I asked her for a picture, and I am not that type of person. I'm like, no, I'm like, why didn't I say everything I felt about her in that moment? Like, why didn't I tell her how important her interviews have been to me and how helpful she's been in my everyday life? But instead I was like, can I get a picture? Like, why did I need that so bad? And I beat myself up about it all the time. Because
like I think because we want something we can keep that will remember that it happened and prove, like it's more about showing everybody else. A picture's like,
right,
I got to do this. Like I've met Jennifer Aniston probably like very many times. I think I've met everyone except for, I've met Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, and I haven't met I've met a bunch of those people. Met Joey, Matt LeBlanc.
Are they just all the most like heavenly people ever?
Jennifer Aniston's amazing, so kind, so beautiful. Like
she's so present. I remember after I met her, I was like, I want to be like that, because she was so like, once she realized that because I had a friend's mask on, like when she walked by me, and once she realized that I was a fan and just genuinely like, oh my gosh, she turned and gave me all her undivided attention, even though it was just to tell me like, I'm so sorry, I'm running late. Thank you so much. Like she couldn't give me the moment that she knew I wanted so badly, but she still made it a point to make it seem like she gave a shit about me. And she's
kind and friendly and warm. And I would say that about almost every celebrity that I've met. Maybe there's a couple that I didn't think were, but there's definitely like so now I'm better at it, right? Like try not to do can I take a picture? Thank you. And then walk away looking at the picture, like instead of just having a moment with that person. I'm better at that now, because I'll have like this is like a dumb one, but in that same environment, there was Melissa Etheridge was there.
That's pretty cool. Come to my window is my jam.
Yeah. So I had like this, oh my God, like I saw her and went, oh my God, I used to lie on my floor in San Francisco crying, sobbing with my arms spread and come to my window. Like I was so angsty. Like I had so many things, hormones, like so much stuff buzzing in my body. I would cry listening to that song. And it was just such a very specific moment of my life. And I thought for a second, I would love to tell her that, because that's kind of funny now. Yeah. And I kind of want to be like, you had that impact on me and you don't know me at all. Yeah. And I just want you to know that I spent 5 years, like, right. You've created you're a chapter book in my anthology or whatever. And so I told her in a coherent, like, way. I was like, I just have to say hi and just tell you this thing. And she loved it and thought it was really funny and really kind, and then stood and engaged with me for another, several minutes about where were you when you were, where did you go to school? But, like wanted to know a little bit about my experience and why that was a part of it. Right. And where I was and who, blah, blah, blah. And I loved that. And so I was like, oh, that's so much better that I had that nice engage. Then I went, so can we have a picture? Cause I want to now put that on my Facebook.
That's so funny.
When I met Meryl Streep, I was literally like all day, like going to meet Meryl Streep, like going to the Oscars. Like I didn't know I was going to meet Meryl Streep. That wasn't really I didn't guarantee that, but because I put it out there, I forced myself to make that moment happen. I felt an extra responsibility to everyone that had seen me write that on Facebook, that
to prove it.
Yeah. To prove that I could do it.
Yeah.
But now it was like, there was extra like guts. It gave me the guts, I think. So I had to, because I had said, and I had this whole idea. I was going to post the photo after all of this, like, this is going to happen. I was going to go
I'm going to post this photo with your episode.
I got to do that. And then I was like, oh, well, I would have much rather just engaged her in a conversation about being an actor and just what her kind of body of work and why how it was inspiring. And, we'd always go, what would Meryl Streep do? As a joke, like,
I am always like, what would Jennifer Aniston do? Would Jennifer Aniston approve of what I'm doing right now? What would she think if she saw me making this decision? And I often will live my life like, if my idol were to see me right now, would I be proud of this version that they're getting to see? And sometimes I snap out of things, because it's like, I think the people I look up to are the ones who have so much grace and kindness and this presence of being very caring. And when I feel myself falling short of that, I go, okay, what would Jennifer Aniston do? What would Selena Gomez do? What would Mila Kunis do?
Other people, because I'm not religious, but other people like they use God in that way.
And I'm like, Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah. And I think I get it. Like, their thing is some idea of something, right, that is judging them, that would have an opinion about, right? It's the same. Like yours.
That is so funny. I'm like,
that's
crying.
Your religion. Like, am I living properly in a way that would make Jennifer Aniston proud? Am I doing right by, my God? Like, is this my idea of what this thing is? And she would probably be like, hey, we all like, she's probably not proud of what her everything. Right. And it's also human. And that's kind of what is great about the shows, right? Is that they're human in the worst ways as well. So we see like the thing that sets everyone off, and then they become more human to us and more relatable because.
Right. Is there a character that you channel in your hard times?
I mean, I think so I was sitting with my friend. This was like a month and a half ago. I only know that because I can explain why I know it was a month and a half ago. Otherwise, I could have told you. I don't know when it was. But I was sitting with my friend, and she was like, her therapist would ask her, like, what do you like to do for fun? And I was like, we don't have anything. Like, I don't have anything I do. Like, I go to work and then I come home. Like, who am I? Like, I don't have anything that if work was gone, like if suddenly I wasn't doing that, then what would I be doing? And that did happen. That's why the pandemic, I think, was really hard for me, because I was like, oh, I have nothing to do. And I only have 3 days worth of like dumb things that I can empty out drawers and shred papers and try to make myself busy. And then I was just like, I have to go. Like, there's nowhere to go. I can't even go walk around the mall, which is like my boring, like mind numbing thing I like to do when I just want to be somewhere staring at other things. So we were both like, we don't have anything. And my husband plays tennis and writes music and sits in his office and records and like puts stuff together and like is quite happy, like has enough things where he's full, and enjoying himself. And I don't play a sport. I don't know what I do. So we both sat like, what would we like to do? And we went on our phones, and we both ended up in a pottery class, like learning to do the wheel, like, and she learned from the month of that. So then we both paid for it in that moment. We signed up for this class, paid for it. And we're like, every Sunday in March from 11 to 1, we're going to do this thing for a month. And then maybe we'll try a different activity and see what sticks or everything else. We tried to find like cakes, like icing. Yeah. I just want to decorate cakes, like frosting.
Yeah.
but we couldn't find that. So we went to pottery, and then I just signed up for the second month of it. So I'm like,
amazing.
I actually really like this. I didn't like parts of it a lot. Like I wanted to, I just walk out and leave in the middle of the class, because that's how I get sometimes. Like, I just quit. I do that with exercise too. Like,
me too.
I'll start, I want to do 100 of these things. And then halfway through, I'm like, I'll do 100 more. And then literally by 90, I'm like, no, I'm done. I can't even finish the 10.
Yeah.
Just finish the 10, and then you're by yourself. No one cares. Just do it.
I totally get that. I've literally gone to the mall before and like tried on all the clothes, bought them to the register and been like, nope, I don't want these anymore.
I do that all the time.
Yes.
I don't know. I will find a whole ton of stuff and then I just leave myself out of all of it. Yeah, I walk away with nothing all the time. All the time. I buy things online and I hate it. Like, I think I want it. I think about it for weeks. I get it. And then I'm like, oh, I really wasted. That was expensive. Like, that was so dumb. Yeah. So it's dumb. Like we do dumb things to like, like it's some like, think the clothing mall thing is like, there's an adrenaline rush when you're like getting everything and you really like it. And then there's that reality hits of like, am I going to wear this? Like, need another redone t-shirt. I've got 85 and I don't wear 80 of them. Like, what are you doing? Like, then I'm like, maybe I'll sell some. And then I'm like, oh, I like all of it. I can't just, it's so dumb. So anyway, I'm in a pottery class.
So when you're doing your pottery, what character are you channeling? Are you like in Ghost?
I know, that's so funny. That's what there's a lot of sexual references when you do pottery. There's a lot of like things that are funny things. But this is what I really liked about it, actually. I realized while I'm doing it, you have to focus. You really have to be present when you're doing it. It's not something you can chat with everyone while you're doing it. It's not a social activity, because if you're not paying attention, it doesn't work. Like, you have to, it's meditative in that way. You can't, I'm sitting next to my friend and we're both like, like trying to center this thing, and you have to really focus. Yeah. And I like that. Like, I was like, oh, a thing where I am not thinking. Right. I'm not doing anything but just making this thing work. And you can feel when it starts to fall apart. Feel the exact moment that you've just screwed it up, and now can I fix it? No. It sounds like fun. I would love to actually try this, because I did a lot of Lego sets, which have the same kind of effect of, you can't focus on anything else. You have to focus on what's in front of you, or you're going to have to go back 10 bags and fix your mistake and take the whole thing apart. And that sounds like a lot of fun, actually, pottery. It's interesting because when I was learning it, like, I have a tendency to watch someone do it and be like, oh, I get it. And like, do it. I can do it my way. Yeah. Do this your way. It won't work. Right. Like, you have to figure out how to do it the right way to get it to stand up and be an actual thing that isn't wonky or thick on the bottom and really thin on the top. You know, you have to like do it the right way. So you have to actually get better at it. You can't just pick it up. I picked it up pretty fast, but it's something you have to do a lot to get really good at. Right. And I respect that. I look at a coffee mug now and I'm much more impressed. Look, I totally get it. Because I look at architecture and I'm like, man, I think of Lego sets and I'm just like, wow, the foundation that they had to put into this to get it to be this big thing. I get it. And now I'm great at building. I built a coffee table. I built a bathroom unit. I'm like, and I just refer back to my Legos. I'm like, this is great. So I totally get it. Yeah, it's engineering. Yeah. It's basic. That's amazing. So when it comes to mental health, I notice a lot of the things you say about being present and shutting off your brain. What is the thing you struggle with the most when it comes to mental health? I notice, I've noticed when I feel kind of down or like have a day that I'll be like, oh, I could call someone, or I could like reach out and have a conversation with, and I won't do it. Like I just won't. I will go walk around the mall by myself, or just kind of try to make the time go faster. Because I think I get annoyed with myself when I have a tendency to rush to the end of something. So if I'm getting a massage while I'm laying there, I'm just thinking about like, oh, I'm going to tell Katie that this is a really good massage. This person's great. And maybe I'll do this again. I should do this more often. It's like, you're not even present in this experience right now. You're just thinking about how you'll explain it to. Yes. And I get really annoyed with myself that I'm not enjoying the moment, not being present. I'm thinking about the next thing. I'm thinking about like if we're having dinner, I'm thinking about like what I'm having tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm not even enjoying this expensive meal, or this is so yummy. I want more of it as I'm eating it. Like I'll eat something like eating like a piece of chocolate cake and thinking about that I want a second piece of chocolate cake, but I'm still eating this one. Right. It's like, you're not even tasting it. You just want to finish it so you can have another one. Yeah. And then do what? Like then be thinking about that you had it. Like I get really annoyed at myself that I'm not in the experience of it. And that brings us full circle to why I like musical theater. Mm-hmm. And it's the same thing as pottery for me. So when I'm sitting in the theater, what I learned about myself is when I'm sitting in the theater as part of a group of people, where this amazing thing happens when you're in the theater, where I think they did a study on it, but everyone's hearts start to beat at the same together. Breathing and heartbeats all happens. It all happens together. You're part of a massive thing that's happening. Yeah. And when I'm watching and I get absorbed in a story where that person is live on stage and my mouth drops open and then it's intermission, I'm like, I just really took that in. Like the ones that are, when I get annoyed is when I'm like, oh, I should tell so-and-so to see this. I wonder if I should come back and see it again. And you're like, it's not finished yet. You're still watching it. Like you're not even paying attention. And you're thinking about coming back. Like, and then having a conversation in my head like that, which is like, shut up and watch the thing.
Now, do you think that comes from, like, does it come from something of like you experienced like kind of a loss at a uncertain time, or where like you're afraid of something ending suddenly?
Oh, I never thought about that. I always thought my dad lives in Scotland, and we're not close. We don't have like a relationship really at all, I don't think. But he used to take me to musicals when I was a kid. And so all my kind of happy, like when I think about being a kid and then my good experiences with him, or like growing up, those are them. So maybe when I'm in there watching, like I have the most amount of peace because it's such a happy memory of that time. Right. But I'm not sure why I can't stay in something and why I'm rushing to the ends of things. I always rush to the ends. I think that maybe that's also the dog thing. Like I'm taking pictures. I'm starting to already miss her, but she's only 4.
Yeah. It's like, you're like future tripping. That's what my therapist and I call it, future tripping, where
I do that.
Like,
I'm writing that down, future tripping.
Yeah. It's like, I've literally in my head, I've booked a job and gotten canceled. Like, I'm like, because I feel the huge possibility that it'll be such a great booking and it's going to bring all this change into my life. And I already know what my caption will be and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, none of that is even real. Like you could manifest that this is what is you want in your life and you're going to call into your life. But I'm like already imagining being put up on a pedestal and then someone coming down to cancel me over something I said 10, 15 years ago, and like completely future tripping over something that is so far out of the realm that is literally never going to happen.
Yeah.
Instead of just being very excited in the present moment. And
I've definitely taken to where every day I try to remember to say, I'll never be as young as I am today. I'll never do this again today. Mm-hmm. This day is now done. Like this day it's the next day. Yeah. Like, which maybe is also future tripping, because you're like, I'm already like deciding that, right? That day's over. But in a way, it's like, and that's a gift, I think, for me, because I don't hold on to things.
Right.
I'm not like if something bothers me or something happens, I kind of that doesn't burden me. Mm-hmm. So the benefit of that is like that happened, but it's not now. It's not tomorrow.
And to bring it full circle to Seinfeld, it's like, that's a show about those small moments.
Oh yeah.
So so for people like us who are constantly future tripping and ignoring those small moments in our lives, just maybe taking on the day as like, you know what, this is my episode today. This is this episode. And if this episode is just all about the fact that I have to go return something at the mall and I will not feel better until I do it, then how do I make that the best episode of my day? Like, and just really finding, I found with my mental health, I had to find the beauty in the smallest things to find my will to live on some days, and just being grateful that I could use my hand to pick up this glass of water. Like I had to get so down to the nitty gritty of all of it to be able to ground myself in the present moment and not do that future tripping of what about this and what about this and what, but even future tripping, like you said, where it's like, I went to Taylor Swift the whole time. There were moments where I just had to like literally put my phone down and look around and just scream, sing these songs. But then there were other moments where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to post this. I can't wait to post this video. I can't wait to tell so-and-so about this. And it's like, well, you're here and it is going by so fast. You've waited so long to get to this point. Now you're here and you're already wishing it was over.
Yeah. Somebody, when I got married, my wedding, someone told me to do something. And so when I meet people that are about to get married, I always give them the same advice because it really helped me, even though, not everyone has the same thing where they can't be present. I always said like what I did and what I told people, what someone told me was stop and look at a little detail that's like, whether it's what your friend's earring looks like that you're talking to, and then look and choose a person that throughout the night that when you see them, you'll remember some element of something in the detail, and that keeps it more colorful and keeps you present there. So then when you think back at your night, I remember like the shoes that were sitting, that my niece had taken off her shoes and was dancing and they were sitting.
I love that
thing. And I have these colorful little moments, and I'm so glad I did that. And someone helped me do that. And I will say the pictures of me on that day of my face, like I love how I look. I look so happy. I was so present. I was having such a good time. I liked it's like, that is such a gift.
Yeah.
So I try to bring that into my day. Like if I can remember, like look at the way the problem is that my days are sort of groundhoggy, where it's like, it's literally a almost repetitive replay every day. They're not that different. So there's all those details, that stuff just starts to kind of
blur,
become a blurry, like, oceany, mergy thing. And then I can't remember. It's not like a wedding where it's one thing.
But they also say when you are living so in the present moment, you kind of do forget a lot of things because it's not so, you're not attached to the moment anymore. You're just in the next current one, which is also kind of euphoric when you really start living so presently.
Yeah. I mean, I hope I can look back at my life and do that, like find moments and make sure that I'm being present. And I mean, the mental health part of it, that I feel like that happens when you're a teenager, and then you get I was kind of sassy with it. My 20s, I don't remember even ever feeling, it was always like a lost love or someone I had a thing for. Like it was that piney, like hormonal stuff. And now when I'm like more settled in my late 40s, then it creeps back now. Cause now I'm like doing this sort of daily thing, and in dealing with aging and the reality of that, and thinking about, I'm less like nothing can catch me. I was, a kid and moved to San Francisco with 2 suitcases. I was like, I'll find a place to live. I didn't care. And then I could never do that now.
Oh,
like,
same.
It's crazy. Like the stuff I did, that's crazy. Like that I was willing to just kind of drop and do. And so I feel now like I have to figure that out again. It's like a new way.
But it's also, so beautiful that like we had that time at that age, because I did the same thing. I was 19, moved to LA, didn't know a single person, was like, I'll make it. I'll be fine. And I've been out here, 11, 12 years now. And I thank God that I had that fearlessness at that age, because I don't have that fearlessness now. I do with certain aspects, but now I think it's a matter of learning who you are in this new portion of your life, in this new era, and being grateful for those things that got you here, and those times where you were super sassy, and now you get to have a little bit of that sassiness with wisdom, which is like, that is powerful.
Then you meet young people and I'm like, no, oh my God, you're going to have to learn. Like, and it's like, and I go, why do you have to learn the hard way? Because everyone's done it. Everyone's telling you, but it's because you're a teen, or if you really do think you know better than everyone else. And I think it's just that genetic thing. And somebody told me that the squirrels that you see that are dead on the road, those are teenager squirrels. They didn't listen. They didn't listen to the grandma squirrel. No, they're like, I'm fine. And they just go and they get it.
Oh no, poor squirrel.
The moral of the podcast is don't be a teenage squirrel.
Don't be a teenage squirrel. Okay, Joanna, you have been so generous with your time. This has flown by. Talk about being present.
Oh my God. There you go. See, I was present for you.
It was so fun. I had the biggest smile on my face this entire time. You're so fun, and you are so unique, and your energy comes through everything you do, of this calmness and this warmness. And I adore you so much.
Thank you. And I do like try to remember that our uniqueness, because of what I do, I try to find that, and then just connecting is, mental health. I think if we just connect more, that helps it. And I need to be better, like actually making a call when I feel like that.
Right. And always realizing that you can always call people that aren't even like your closest friends. Just getting outside of your own head is the most important, and realizing that like there are so many people, and this is for anybody listening, like we all have our go-to friends, right, on our favorites list. But I guarantee you, outside of that favorites list, there are so many other people who would pick up the phone for you also and be like, so happy you called them and so happy to hear from you, and just be honest and open about what you're going through. And 9 times out of 10, it will benefit you.
And then just ask, what would Jennifer Aniston do?
Exactly. My last question.
If I ever meet her again, I'm like, who do you call when you're feeling?
And that's when you give her my number.
I know someone that would love it.
Because I know somebody who would happily help you through anything.
That happened.
My last question for you was going to be, what was the most useful piece of advice you've gotten for your mental health, and what helps you maintain your mental health? But I feel like we covered a lot of that in this last question.
I mean, it's probably just to always know that there is something bigger than you, that there's another day will happen, that if you can get through the way you're feeling, you'll feel better. You're going to feel better. It's going to get a little better. And it might take however long it takes for you, but there's always another day. There's always that fresh start. There's always someone going through what you're going through. There's always, if you can find the things that help you just kind of work through stuff. And if you're feeling like, just watch an episode of television, watch an episode of something that just clear it. I think of those shows a little, it's like a palate cleanser at night, right? So you watch the same, we already know what's going to happen. We've tasted it. It's like, it's a sorbet. It's just this silly joke, or I love this moment, or this dumb thing that happens, or, whatever.
Yeah.
Like it just takes you take something that can take you out of yourself, that can, help you breathe, help you kind of focus, put your phone down, go for a walk.
And also, I wrote this down. I forgot to mention it. You also had me watch The Office, and it was like perfect. It was a perfect episode, because one thing about me is no matter what kind of day I'm having, if I am so tired, if I am not in a good mood, if I'm irritable, and there is an episode of a sitcom where somebody proposes, I am done for. I am crying to it, and I suddenly want a boyfriend. I'm like, and it takes me out of where I am.
Loved that episode.
That episode was great.
That show too. Those people are pretty awful. Like some of them they're just so. I do recommend taking a little dive into that show.
Yeah,
it's really fun and very specific characters and archetypes. And I used to say, when people for their headshots, like, to think about types, I used to use Friends as examples all the time. Their archetypes, like, are you the kind of boho, like ditzy
Phoebe?
Phoebe? Are you the type A, like, Courtney?
Monica?
Yes. Are you the girl next door? Heart on her sleeve, like Jennifer? Are you, and those are great, like, archetypes, because I could probably only play the ditzy, like, I know that about myself, like where I fit into that, or what my sweet spot is. And then maybe I can do a little bit of, like, color it a little, but it's a good way to approach headshots. And those characters were dressed very differently and had very different, it's like, if you could take photos of them, you would kind of get that essence from them. Right.
You knew exactly what their character was by just seeing a picture of them.
Yeah. And it's like, what's your strengths and where do you, so those are good. Our Friends is a really good show for that too.
So tell people, because I have to let you go, because we've been on this for almost 2 hours. And even though I could talk to you all day long, this has been so fun, because again, in your sessions, we don't get to talk a whole lot about
that's true
personal stuff, but every time I see you in these sessions, I feel like we are the best of friends, because that's how you make everybody feel, and it's great. But tell people where they can find you if they want to book a session, if they want to see your incredible TikToks, if they want to see your work.
I mean, I would say I have a website. It's just joannadegeneres.com. And then my Instagram, same, at Joanna DeGeneres. I would say the Instagram has all my little TikTok-y things, all that stuff. And also more current, like, updates. And I think it's a good way to get a sense of, like, what it's like in the studio and what I do, and, if it's the right fit and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So those would be I say go to Instagram first. And then if you want to book, we have a contact page on the website that literally a form to fill out, and then we'll get back to you, hopefully.
You will. You always do. I always get in earlier too, which is great.
And that's the thing. We're booked out, but then we get cancellations. Yeah, it happens.
All right, Joanna, thanks you again
Brittany.
So much. This was so much fun. I hope you enjoy your pottery class later.
Thank you. I'm very excited, because this is month 2. So I decided to take the next level. So we'll see. I probably should have retaken the other level, but I don't like repeating things. So I was like, I'll just take the next one and see how I do.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see the finished product.
I will send it to you.
All right. I adore you. Mwah.
Mwah. Thank you, Brittany.
You're welcome. Bye.